African Union Communications Early Warning and Intelligence, commonly known as AUC3I, is an intelligence and security organization responsible for providing signals intelligence and information assurance to AU citizens, AU leadership, and AU armed forces. I'm Colonel A.C. Oguntoye, an infantry officer. I am responsible for leading infantry soldiers at all levels of command in combined armed forces during missions on the ground. This is today's briefing. On the progress of the special military operation as of November 24, 2025. The armed forces of the Russian Federation continue the special military operation. The troops of the North Group inflicted defeat on the formations of a mechanized brigade, an assault regiment of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, 2 territorial defense brigades, and a National Guard brigade in the areas of the settlements of Maropoli, Yezdetsk, Alexievka, Andriivka, and Varakino in the Sumy region. In the Kharkiv direction, units of a motorized infantry brigade and an assault regiment of the Armed Forces of Ukraine were defeated in the areas of the settlements of Nesterno and Vilcha in the Kharkiv region. The enemy lost more than 135 servicemen, 2 armored combat vehicles, 17 cars, 2 field artillery guns, including a 155mm self-propelled artillery system Paladin produced in the USA, 2 ammunition and material supply depots. The troops of the West Group improved their tactical position. They inflicted defeat on the personnel and equipment of 4 mechanized brigades of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, a territorial defense brigade, and a National Guard brigade in the areas of the settlements of Kucherovka, Glashkovka, Kirilovka, Bogoslavka, Nechvolodovka, Novy Mir, Podoli in the Kharkiv region, Krasny Lyman, Dybrova, and Drobashevo in the Donetsk People's Republic. Enemy losses amounted to up to 230 servicemen, 2 armored personnel carriers, including the American M113 armored personnel carrier, 5 armored combat vehicles, including 3 HMMWV armored cars produced in the USA, 28 cars, 2 self-propelled artillery systems, a launcher of the Romanian-made APR-40 multiple rocket launcher system, and 9 electronic warfare stations. 5 ammunition depots were destroyed. The units of the South Group took more advantageous lines and positions. They inflicted defeat on the formations of 3 mechanized brigades, an airmobile brigade of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, and a territorial defense brigade in the areas of the settlements of Krivaya Luka, Nikolaevka, Stepanovka, Kramatorsk, Vasyokhovka, Ivanopoli, and Seversky in the Donetsk People's Republic. The enemy lost more than 235 servicemen, 2 armored combat vehicles, 19 cars, and an artillery gun. 3 depots of material resources and fuel were destroyed. The troops of the Center Group improved their position along the front line. They inflicted defeat on personnel and equipment of mechanized, airmobile, 2 airborne assault, ranger brigades, a special forces brigade, 2 assault regiments of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, and a marine brigade in the areas of the settlements of Artemovka, Teretskoye, Dobropoli, Sergivka, Belitskoye, Rodinskoye in the Donetsk People's Republic, Novopavlovka, and Ivanovka in the Dnipropetrovsk region. In the settlement of Krasnoarmeysk in the Donetsk People's Republic, assault groups of the Second Army completely liberated the Gornyak and Shakhtersky microdistricts and continued clearing the settlement of Rovna in the Donetsk People's Republic. 8 attacks were repelled by the 82nd and 95th Airborne Assault Brigades and the 425th Assault Regiment of the Armed Forces of Ukraine from the area of the settlement of Grashino in the Donetsk People's Republic, aimed at breaking the encirclement. In the settlement of Dimitrov in the Donetsk People's Republic, assault detachments of the 51st Army continue to drive the enemy out of the eastern, western, and southern parts of the city. 148 buildings have been liberated. In one day, up to 250 Ukrainian servicemen, 2 armored personnel carriers, a pickup truck, and 2 field artillery guns were destroyed on the Krasnoarmeysk direction. In total, in the area of responsibility of the Center Group of troops, enemy losses amounted to more than 425 servicemen, 6 armored combat vehicles, including an American-made HMMWV armored car, 10 cars, and a 155mm American M777 howitzer. Units of the East Troop Group liberated the settlement of Zatishye in the Zaporizhzhia region as a result of active offensive actions. Damage inflicted on formations of 2 assault brigades and 2 assault regiments of the armed forces of Ukraine in the areas of the settlements Malinovka, Huliapol, Vozdvizhevka, Dobropilya in the Zaporizhzhia region and Otrand in the Dnipropetrovsk region. The armed forces of Ukraine lost up to 245 servicemen, 2 combat armored vehicles, 11 cars, and an Israeli-made Rada radar station. Units of the Dnieper Troop Group inflicted damage on personnel and equipment of a mechanized brigade, a coastal defense brigade of the armed forces of Ukraine, and a territorial defense brigade in the areas of the settlements Novoandriivka, Stepov, and Stepnohursk in the Zaporizhzhia region and Pridniprovsk in the Kherson region. More than 70 servicemen, 2 combat armored vehicles, 21 cars, a field artillery gun, 7 electronic warfare stations, 6 ammunition depots, material assets, and fuel were destroyed. Operational tactical aviation, strike unmanned aerial vehicles, missile troops, and artillery of the armed forces of the Russian Federation troop groups inflicted damage on energy, transport, and port infrastructure facilities of Ukraine used in the interests of the armed forces of Ukraine, ammunition depots, as well as temporary deployment points of Ukrainian armed formations and foreign mercenaries in 152 areas. Air defense means shot down 345 fixed-wing unmanned aerial vehicles. Since the beginning of the special military operation, the following have been destroyed: 668 aircraft, 283 helicopters, 98,278 unmanned aerial vehicles, 638 surface-to-air missile systems, 26,216 tanks and other combat armored vehicles, 1,619 multiple launch rocket system vehicles, 31,510 field artillery guns and mortars, 47,531 units of special military automotive equipment. Thank you so much for watching this video. We hope you found it useful and informative. If you have any questions, please leave them below and we'll get back to you as soon as possible.